Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Uh, Please let me know in the comments whether you can hear me, so we can start. It. Okay, I think I'll assume that everything is fine. Um, Both our players are already in Minsk Dojo, and that means that the game is gonna start soon. In the meanwhile, let me show you where exactly we are in this tournament and what we're going to watch today. So here you can see the bracket. Today we're going to watch the quarterfinals in the tournament Minsk Shogi Classic. The players are well-known Tanyan Vincent. So you might know Vincent as a European champion. If I'm not mistaken, he's the European champion. He took this title twice. Also, he is the current champion of Belarus. And against him is Starikov Maxim, who is a young player. He has first dan. We watched his game on this week earlier against Makhnach Alexei. You can see it here. It was an interesting game, a sudden positional. It was much more positional than we expected because it was a sharp Yoko Futori opening. So it was fun to watch. There is a recording on our YouTube, so if you want to see it, you know where to go to look for it. So today's game is the first in quarterfinals. We're gonna see more games during this week and maybe some more on the weekend. In one of them I'm going to take part, so right here, and it's not likely that it's gonna be any commentary in English, but for other three, I think we'll do the streams. Right. So what is it all about? The winner of these playoffs is gonna compete for the Masters title. It will be a game best of two, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but most likely. And it's gonna be against the current holder of the title, Anton Starikevich. So we'll see. We'll see who's gonna compete with him later. And back to the match. Let me see if the game. Yeah, the game has started, and actually it's already in early. We can see some early developments here. Hopefully you can see the screen now, and let me set up the position for you. So Starikov Maxim plays as center, and Vincent plays as Gotha. We see open bishop diagonals, yeah, I actually noticed that Maxim prefers static rook, and Vincent is famous with his ranging rook, often Shikenbisha, and recently he plays more of the third file rook, Shikenbisha in Japanese. So let's see what actually they played. Right, so Vincent pushes the h-pawn. He wants to know whether Maxim is going for Naguma or not earlier, so he can play a famous Fuji system where the king usually stays in the castle, I mean in his initial spot for 5-1, and all the attack from Gotha counter-attack happens on the left flank. However, Maxim doesn't react, which might be a sign of, sorry, hopefully I didn't break anything up, which is a sign of Anaguma. But we'll see where it goes. So yeah, Vincent chooses strategy he usually plays now, sunken bishop. And Maxim replies with the h pawn. So Anaguma is still possible in this situation. So it used to be before people thought that pushing the h pawn in Anaguma weakens your position, but it's not the case anymore. And it's still different options are possible for Santa in this position. At this point, I believe, Vincent starts to castle. Ranging Rook is known for a more passive game style, and what we're gonna probably see just Vincent castling with his king in some kind of minnow, and just waiting for any opportunity for counterattacks. For Santa, there are different options. We can see that Maxim is already preparing some kind of climbing silver, so he might try to escalate the situation, or he might choose a slower play and start castling his king. So it's multiple options for Santa, and for Gotha, for the white side, it's mostly just castling and waiting for counterattack opportunities. Alright, let me check what's going on in the chat, how everything is going. Okay, seems like people can hear me. That's great. And Kifu was shared, so you can see the actual position in case I mess up. Seems like a few more moves were made, but for some reason can't see it. My Kifu player. Yeah, actually a lot more moves were made. I think it just froze for me. So Maxim replied with King castling. Sorry, I keep pressing wrong buttons. Hopefully you see the word again. Vincent pushed his silver up. Sorry, I keep doing that. Okay. From now on, I'll be super precise with my button clicks. Right. Maxim replies with the king. Vincent. Yeah. So pretty much, players are just castling here, and also Maxim makes this move for some to try to push his silver further and check our Belarusian champion, whether he can defend that or not. So this square is covered, so the silver cannot go further. That's why Maxim chooses to push the pawn, but Vincent defends. And if I'm not mistaken, players are still making moves. Okay. I don't see them yet. That's why let's see what's going on here. So for Santa, it's not possible anymore to push through this edge. So it's more likely they will try to push from the left side, and the only way to do that is pushing this pawn up. And this might be actually dangerous because at any time Gotha might open the diagonal, trade the bishop, and this rook is kind of weak and might be forced to swing the first file. Probably it's not a big deal at this point, but center should keep it in mind. And I think the best idea would be just to castle their king first, make sure it's safe, nice and safe, and only after that trying somehow to implement their climb and silver ideas. So it's only been 20 moves so far. Position seems pretty equal, but meanwhile 9 more moves were made, and yeah, Santa actually, I think, know what I say and start castling. And got to just calmly wait, improve their position by casting their king, and wait for counterattacks. So at this point, Santa decided that their king is pretty safe in this boat castle, and made the push, which is kind of a signal of an attack which is coming from the center side. Got to feel quite confident, just bring here the silver for better defense. Santa come down a little bit and keep improving their castle. More casting moves from both sides. And this is the actual position. According to the engine, position is equal. It's 51 to 49%. I would say it's 50-50 at this point. Players are just castling. In the previous game, we actually noticed that Maxim plays accurate moves. I mean, not accurate, but accurate as well. But what I want to say, he thinks twice before escalating the position. He makes a lot of slow moves with different defensive ideas. So we might actually, and even though we see his climbing silver right here at 2-6, being ready to attack at any time, it's absolutely possible that we'll see a lot of castle reinforcement moves now from him. He doesn't do this first steps, so he plays around counterattacks, and it's interesting where it's gonna go, because Gota's strategy is all around the counterattacks as well. So we might see them not escalating it, not doing any trades for some good 10 more moves or so. And after that, just trying to find the players will try to find weak spots from both sides to start moving the position forward. So chances are we're gonna see some positional play soon. Right, let's see whether, yeah, I can see new moves were done. Great English skills, Nikki. Thank you. Thanks for all good comments. Just a small reminder, don't forget to like this video. This means a lot to us. Also subscribe to our channel. We're gonna do these streams more often in English language, so people from other countries can enjoy Minsk Shogi. Right, let us see the position. Some reason it doesn't want to update live for me, so I have to reload the page every time new moves are made, but it's alright, I think we're doing great. Vincent applies some pressure by opening his bishop, because Maxim closed this one, which gave Vincent this opportunity, and also pushes this pawn, which might make a difference later. So pretty much he's, made the same mistake as always. I'll learn at some point. So hopefully you see the board again now. Yeah, so Vincent takes more and more space, and we'll see whether what Maxim is gonna do about that. And interesting move from Maxim. He uses his defensive silver for the attack, so most likely he wants to trade these pawns in the middle, because he attacks the square with both his bishop and his silver, and his pawn of course, while it's only defended by two pieces, bishop and pawn. Actually, this is quite an interesting idea. He might be thinking now of maybe just forgetting about the right flank for a while and reinforcing his castle by moving this gold lefter and bringing his rook in the middle. Interesting ideas, and in general, I think Gotha should consider now defending this 5-5 important middle square with their silver. We'll see what the champion thinks about this position. Yeah, and if I see it right, this is exactly what he does. He moves forward his silver. So now this pawn cannot be pushed, and Maxim, as a black, should start thinking of some other attacking ideas. Another idea might be now to push this rook and aim for this trade here on 3-5. But I think in this case Gotha might simply move their bishop here, or even a sneakier move by trying to somehow relocate it on this diagonal. However, I'm afraid it's not possible right now, because this diagonal will be unsafe. But if Vincent makes some preparation moves by pushing this pawn earlier, it might work out. But of course it requires some calculation. For the streams, I think I will do some live, so I will analyze it live with the engine, so we could be able to see some computer lines and analyze it together with you guys. But today we are just using my brain power to analyze this position. Not the best, but for sure not the worst. Let me see your comments. Welcome to the stream, everyone. And let me see where we are. A couple more moves were made. A very interesting move from Maxim, and this is exactly what we've discussed earlier. Maxim is a very careful player, and he realized that his climbing silver attack doesn't have much potential, and what he does, he brings his silver back. So he's not hurrying with his attack, he just tries to hold it, and maybe he's even thinking of reinforcing his castle. Sorry for these background noises, it's pretty hot in here, so I keep my window open so my brain doesn't overheat. in the severe conditions. So he brings back the silver. Very interesting idea, and I wonder what he keeps in mind with this move. What he implies with this move, I'd rather say. Still the same plan for Gotha, just improving their king's position. They push the pawn on the 6th file with the idea of creating a high Mino castle with their gold on 6-3, and maybe further during the game improving it into the Silver Crown castle. Pretty standard, just all the prepared moves from Gotha. And now the intrigue is what's the Santa's plan. Updating my Kifu to see the recent moves. Yeah, seems like this is the position we have now. My friend. So happy to see my fans in the chat. Hi to everyone. It's really a pleasure to have you here with me, watching this beautiful game. I really like that Maxim doesn't hurry with his attack, and because what usually players of lower ranks, I mean, obviously there is a big difference in ranks in this game, and in general Vincent is one of the best European players currently. So when the difference is big, weaker players just try to rush it with some crazy attacking ideas, and their attack just gets exhausted at some point, so the game ends quickly, and Maxim just is looking for the weak spots, and seems like he's ready to fight. Really happy to see that as a Shogi fan, and hopefully you're happy to see it as well. So it's still an equal position according to the engine, and yeah, so Maxim does these crazy rotations. If I see it right on the board, he moves his bishop, and it has two ideas in mind. Very interesting move. In a good way, I would say. It's surprised me, and I already see why it can work out. So first of all, it's an immediate threat. Vincent will have to react with his rook here to defend the 2nd file. Otherwise, Santa will be able to push it through. And right after that, they can start their attack on the 4th file with both their bishop and their silver. So it's a climbing silver, but from a different spot. Interesting. Very interesting. I can see there are some comments. Don't understand. Understand. Yeah, sure. I can see some comments regarding from new players regarding the tutorials. There are plenty of them online. You can find some on a very nice shogi channel by Hidechi. Just if you search for Hidechi in YouTube, it will show up, and he has plenty of tutorials. And we have links to these tutorials on our website, shogi.by. If you're interested in that, of course, I think I can think of an introductory lection sometime later on a different stream. Right. I can see some more moves were made. Yeah, we managed to guess Maxim's idea. So, of course, Vincent has to defend his second file. And finally, the first attempt to attack by pushing the 4-6 pawn. I mean, 4-7 pawn. And let's see if Vincent already took the pawn. Yeah, and Vincent took the pawn. Right, so what we're gonna see is this silver advancing further and climbing not from the right side but from the left side, somewhere along this path. As soon as this silver takes the pawn, Vincent will have this small gap in time to move his rook on the fourth file in order to try to maybe apply some pressure here with some ideas of promoting his rook after the silver tries to trade on the third file. I think it might be an interesting counterattack from Gota's side. We'll see where it goes. So far, Vincent has just took the pawn. And I'm pretty sure Maxim will take it back. Yeah, so it's likely we're gonna see the middle game from now on. It's not likely players will have any more time to reinforce their castles, and a lot of trades are coming during the further moves. Updating my keyfoot to see the moves, and yeah, seems like Maxim is thinking in advance what's his plan for this middle game. Yeah, thanks for being active in the chat. If you have any questions, always happy to answer all of them. And tell me whether you like the position, who is your favorite, which side would you like to play. Any static rook fans, any ranging rook fans in the chat? Let me see whether everything... Yeah, seems like you can see everything on my stream, that's great. Still an equal position. And Maxim took the pawn, which is expected. And here the engine... Yeah, actually we did not consider that, but at this point Vincent has a simple defense by just dropping his pawn, and seems like this is what the engine likes to see. But not as the first move. At first, engine suggests pushing this pawn to pressure the silver on 6-6. Not very clear how is it helpful, but I guess the idea is that the silver cannot really take, because at any time this silver might move away, and this bishop's diagonal is very strong for Gotha. They're gonna constantly apply pressure here. Actually, there are some crazy ideas, like maybe sacrificing the silver and taking this arrow. Probably not the best moves, but don't have much time to calculate. But there are some ideas around that, so I assume that's why taking this pawn might be not the best move, and silver will have to retreat, and only after that there are these ideas by the engine for counterattacks. More of defensive moves rather than counterattacks, but still. Yeah, it seems like Vincent is calculating all these things right now. Let me show you. Yeah. Oops. Okay, like that. Let me move myself up. Yeah, so this is what we've just discussed, and the engine proposes pushing this pawn. The silver falls back, and not sure about this notation, but seems like after that this drop appears on 4-5. Yeah, so there are like at least 3 potential moves here, all look equally potentially good, and that's why Vincent takes his time. And I'm reminding that this tournament has a really interesting format. The games are long, so each game, each player has 1 hour of the main time, and after that 1 minute of additional time. And so far the players only took less than 20 minutes each. For Vincent it's even 13 minutes, so they have plenty of time to calculate and to show the highest quality game they can by exploiting the time they have. Yeah, so Vincent decided not to push the 6-5 pawn. So instead of this move, he simply dropped it here, and Maxim calmly falls his silver back. So Maxim gained like a minor advantage by getting this pawn in his hand, so he traded this one here, and Vincent had to drop it, and Maxim still has it in hand. In this type of position, I think it's a good result in some way, but there is a big difference in castles. Vincent has a very well-balanced Mina castle here, and Maxim will have to spend some more turns now to reimagine his attack. Let's put it like that. In the meanwhile, Vincent will be able to just push his generals up and reinforce his castle even more. Maxim doesn't have doesn't have a lot of ideas for his castle improvements, besides just slowing down the game even more and just moving his king here and maybe just bringing all these spread apart generals closer to their commander. Might actually make a lot of sense now, because and maybe actually black still have an opportunity to slow it down and trying to go into Anaguma. Don't think chances are high that it will work out, because Gote might open up the position really quickly by pushing up this gold and bringing rook into the middle to start attacking and applying pressure on this diagonal. So Anaguma, maybe it's kind of too late for it, but bringing back the generals might be a very solid plan. I'm pretty sure more moves were made. Even though players have time, they want to keep it till the end game, the most exciting part of Shogi. And actually, this is where, yeah, I think the castle difference starts to make the difference. And at this point, it's up. Vincent is up. He's 4% up at this point. Let me see what was the sequence of moves after the turn 38 where we stopped. Actually, no more updates, but I can see on the stream that the Pretty sure Maxim pushed up his silver, but can't see what Vincent did. Okay, so Vincent, yeah, he reinforces his castle. Improves his castle, I'd rather say. And yeah, round 2, Maxim straightforwardly, in a stubborn manner, just looks for these spots where he can push his silver. I guess his plan now is to make an attack on this weak third file, and I think it's gonna work. It's gonna work because Gote White doesn't have enough time to defend this square, so the trade gonna happen. But opening up the position now doesn't necessarily mean big advantages for black, because of this king being protected mostly only by these two generals, while this king, Gothic king, is in safety. Let me see if any discussion is happening. Right. Thanks for all your comments. I see people fooling around in the chat. Yeah, I like to see that. I like to see that a lot. Oh, sorry. Keep pressing the wrong buttons. What can I say? This is just me doing silly things. Yeah, right. Let me see who's thinking on his further moves. Let me switch the scenes. Yes, we can enjoy the full screen live stream from King Kamuri, our main shogi club in Minsk. Yeah, we have more than one. It might be surprising for those who are watching us from other countries. Right, so yeah, we can see Maxim. You can see he's not scared, calculating carefully his further moves, and meanwhile Vincent is thinking on his plan. We can see an interesting Tsumi problem in the background. Wonder how many moves is it to solve that problem. Okay, too difficult to calculate it fast. So let's switch back to our board. Or now let's keep it like that. Let's see what the player's emotions before we see the next moves. And I'll leave you with the stream for 1 minute. I'll go grab some water. Sorry. Be right back in 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. How's everyone doing? Did you miss me? Did I miss anything important? Yeah, it seems like Vincent takes his time, wants to make sure he doesn't do any silly mistakes. And let me go through the line I was mentioning earlier. Switching the scenes. Yeah, you can see Vincent on the right, lower right. All right. Yeah, so I think what Vincent is concerned a little bit about is this third file. So he doesn't really have time to defend it properly. He'll have to move his rook now here. And Maxim will bring his rook. And Maxim is ready to attack. And even if Vincent, let's say, moves his bishop away on 2-2, Maxim has just a right amount to push through. So it's bishop, silver, pawn, and rook, 4 pieces. And Vincent has only 3 pieces to attack. So Maxim will push, and this is what's gonna happen. And I think that Vincent already sees this position, and he just thinks what he's gonna do in this case, whether this is beneficial for him or not. So let's consider. So let's choose this position as our starting point. What can White do here? So the most obvious continuation. Let me actually check whether you see the screen. Yeah, seems like you do. Yeah, most obvious continuation, just taken with the silver. In this case, there are options here actually. It's possible to take with the bishop, with the rook, or with the bishop. If the rook takes, Vincent can either do the trade or calmly simply cover it with the pawn, and rook will have to escape. Not here because of the these silver tactics, but probably actually it's not that easy to find a good spot. Maybe even here. Yeah, because there are all of different crazy silver drops after the trade. But I guess this is kind of too passive for Gotha. So I would expect more of this position. And here there are already some crazy attacking ideas from Gotha. Like pushing, like dropping this rook here with the attack on the bishop. And if bishop does something, let's call it not very precise, like retreating here. Actually, that's kind of a good retreat because it attacks the rook. But let's say if Santa just go straight ahead to the counterattack with their rook drop, there is these nasty tactics here. The silver drop on 8-8. King cannot take because the rook destroys the castle afterwards, and it's pretty much no good defense here. Yeah, so after this trade, I'd say that it's better. Seems like it's better for white because, as we discussed again, because of the castle difference. Well-balanced castle from the Gota's side and a weak one from the Santa's. So it seems like going for this trade. Um, right now might be not that good for Santa after all. Let's see whether players think the same. Yeah, so yeah, so it seems like Vincent figured out that this attack for Santa doesn't seem um, that good. And what Santa did, let me double check again. Instead of going full defense, they just continued improving their castle. And here comes a sudden counterattack from Santa, and they push their pawn here. Another, after that, Santa are going to get one more pawn in their hand, and it might be helpful in the end game for different edge attacks because 3 pawns, it's a guaranteed. So to guarantee a successful edge attack, you need at least 3 pawns, but 2 pawns in hand is already a good start. And yeah, so Vincent just takes and Santa take. Yeah, so interesting idea to do these small attacks from different flanks. Just trying the opponent. Again, looking for weak spots, getting these pawns in hand for further to apply them for further tactics. Hello everyone in the chat. Happy to see you here. So just reminding to everyone that this is the first quarterfinals match in Minsk Shogi Classic tournament for the Masters title. And today we watched the game between the first and the fifth Dan Vincent Tanyan and Maxim Starikov. So far we see a static rook against third file ranging rook. The opening was pretty standard, but quite a non-standard position in the middle of the game. Yeah, I can see some more moves have happened, but I don't see it yet in my Kifo Explorer. I've just updated it, and very interesting play from both sides. So both players just do defensive moves. Nobody wants to do this first major stab. Yeah, so Vincent does something very smart. He brings this Zero General back closer to his king and opens the bishop diagonal. We totally forgot about it. And I think at some point I mentioned that further along the game this might happen. and bishop we're gonna start working at some point. And yeah, this is exactly what's going on right now. So Gotha threaten taking the 9/9 lands and promoting their bishop. I think what Santa could do here, Santa cannot bring their knight up because of these easy tactics, the pawn drop. If knight escapes, this pawn is gonna promote, which is very beneficial for Gotha and absolutely not for Santa. And all of a sudden, it seems like the only defenses are either bringing the silver back in the castle, or what Maxim did, just clogging his king and dropping the pawn on 7/7. I think it's a very passive move, kind of Maxim style move, but I think here he went too far. So having this pawn in hand and having this file open for further drops seems in general like something good to have. So it seems to me that it would be better. But now he is very constrained on this left flank, and considering any attacks here, probably not possible anymore. But I think he might think of this edge attack, since opponent's king is closer to the edge rather than his. Yeah, so there are still some ideas here, and let's see what the engine thinks of this move. Yeah, and here Vincent is already gaining good advantage by having 61%, so Vincent is 61% favorite at this point. And why is it such a big difference? Why is it such a big difference? Because of the next move Vincent did. He still drops this pawn here. Basically, it's the same idea as we've just discussed. So taking the pawn is not possible because the bishop promotes. If it's just ignored and I don't know, the pawn is pushed here, this promotion and this pawn, and this pawn drop, and this knight is pretty much dead, or the pawn is promoted if knight escapes. So it doesn't seem good at all for Maxim, and seems like all of a sudden he made a weakness in his position. So probably it was better here just to move his silver back in defense. But now he has to deal with, where we are. Now he has to deal with this here. And it's not that many options, only some awkward ones, like, for example, so pushing this pawn, even though it's defended by silver now, is not an option, I guess, because here it takes I wonder whether the knight can take here. Not sure, but maybe this drop, and yeah, doesn't seem good. Doesn't seem good to Santa. Sorry, got a bit lost in this position. Yeah, so moving silver back doesn't work anymore. That's why it was better to use it before, because now it cannot escape back. So pushes like this creates a very strong attack on the black side. Let's see what the engine proposes for defense. Yeah, and actually this is what Maxim does, and I think it doesn't help, unfortunately. I don't think so. Yeah, and the engine proposes exactly what I've just showed you. So this is the actual position in the game right now. So Maxim desperately tries to defend the 7-7 square. But after this push, which the engine suggests, and I think that it's easy for Vincent to calculate. Um, After this one, Santa are in big trouble. Or there are still some options. Let's see actually how it goes. So it's gonna be a trade like that here. And actually, what's interesting? Okay, it's not totally a disaster, even though it looked like that, because surprisingly, this silver works in defense and protects the 7-6 square. So this drop is not possible for now. And but what Gotham might try to do is to force the silver trade here, since the Santa's king's head is super weak. It might be beneficial to gain some, to get some pieces in hand for Gotha, and just to move their generals closer to the fight. So if the trade happens here, there are still a lot of threats, like simply this pawn drop. Yeah, and it's not that many weaknesses in the Gothas camp. Even if Santa tried to push here, it's too far away from the main fight on the left flank, and just too slow, too slow. I think here Santa should really think of somehow improving their defense formation, if that's still possible. Yeah, interesting. But I think it's already quite a big advantage for Gotha in this position. Let's see, and one more option if for some reason Santa decide to retreat. Pawn drop here, and silver is still out of the position. The pressure is still here. Maybe even these crazy moves might work. Who knows? Yeah, but let's see what move sequence got it shows in this position. Surprisingly, this is not what Gotta do. In this position, Gotta just promote their pawn. Of course, silver takes. Uh, and Gotta just try to apply some pressure on the weakened Santa's position. Taking here is not very good, because if Santa take, bishop take, and this diagonal is falling, Santa will have to defend even harder on this attacking flank, which goes against all the Santa's ideas. And I don't know, maybe bringing all their forces on the fourth file, so they're gonna just push step by step on this flank, and all these ideas with drops on 7-6 are still valid. Yeah, so Vincent just went for this slow rolling positional improvement of his position. Let's put it like that. Yeah, looks solid, and he still keeps his advantage according to the engine. Yeah, so Maxim cannot take this pawn. Let me see. Cannot take, and that's why he chooses other options, and he tries to come up with some kind of a counter-attack here and brings his rook on 5-8. Let's see the live stream from Ginkamuri, Minsk Shogi Dojo, to witness this position. in real life on our beautiful shogi ban. Yeah, so I think right now you can see Maxim moving his rook. Still big advantage for Vincent, and the engine just suggests taking the 5-6 pawn and taking over even more space on the center side of the board. Okay, let's get back to the board. Actually, check the chat real quick. Yeah, thanks everyone for staying with us. It's a big pleasure to watch all these games played by the best Minsk players. We're gonna do these streams almost for every single game, at least for this tournament. But I think we'll start streaming in English more often, much more often. At least I'll try to do that. Possible. Don't forget to like the video. That means a lot for us, and subscribe to the channel because, as I said, even more streams are coming. Right, so let me check if Vincent replied to this counter-attack by Maxim. Seems like not yet. And let me... Okay, let's think what might happen next. The engine suggests for Vincent simply to take this pawn. And you can see how pressured the center's attacking formation is. This pawn drop is possible here. Different drops are going to be possible soon on 5-7, and it's very close to the king as well. Very vulnerable position, I'd say. But this is the point actually where Santa might think of some countermeasures. What just is on top of my head is maybe trying to take this pawn, which is constraining Santa's bishop. So ideally, Santa want to play around this diagonal, and to make that possible, they need somehow to rotate their bishop here. The only possible way would be taking this pawn, I think. Before that, I can see some moves in the middle of this action. Probably Santa might think of just pressuring this bishop's head a little bit and pushing the third file pawn. Might be possible. I think Santa still have time for that. So at least it's worth considerations. Hopefully Maxim thinks around these ideas. And if somehow Santa managed to relocate their bishop, I can see a really nice both attacking and defending idea of pushing this pawn, because it creates more thickness on the bishop's diagonal, and also allows an interesting rotation of this golden general closer to the king, and maybe trying to seal this 5-7 square by dropping the pawn here. Yeah, so Santa still have ideas for further development, and yeah, if it wasn't fifth Dan player against him here, I think it would be pretty straightforward defense, and but we know Vincent, he doesn't miss such opportunities, and I'm expecting a lot of precise moves from his side and a lot of pressure on the centers on the center here. Right, let's see the updated position. For some reason I don't see any moves anymore. Yeah, a couple more moves were made, and again, Vincent has his own plan, doesn't really go along with the engine, has his own style, but seems like it works pretty well, and the difference between the players is only increasing, so it's now 70% for Vincent. And what he does is he just brings his attacking pieces closer to the battle, reinforcing this vanguard pawns in the middle. Um, Here Maxim decides to take because his rook escaped, probably because of that, I'm not sure, but I think he just wants to take this pawn with tempo and attacking the silver. Of course Vincent takes with the bishop. Maxim here defends rather than doing that with the silver, which is a more flexible option in my opinion, but yeah, it makes sense also using his knight in defense. And at this point Vincent uses this idea of a pawn drop. Interesting timing. I wonder whether he's okay with Santa's idea of moving 6-6 silver with tempo, because bishop now has to move. If Vincent did it earlier, that wouldn't be the case, and Santa would be possible. It would be a possibility for Santa of pushing this pawn, but at this point, as I said, bishop has to move, and there is an extra turn after that for Santa to do something in defense. Of course, taking is not an option since bishop's gonna promote and take the lance. Yeah, I'd say, of course, the safest option is just the retreat. But since it's already not not great on the right flank, I think Santa should think of the sharpest moves possible and just try to find all the even smallest opportunities for attack they have to complicate the position and to force his opponent to do mistakes. So I think that would be the obvious continuation here, and maybe further take out this pawn with the knight. Maxim in his style made a more defensive move, and I absolutely respect that. He moves just his silver back, and Vincent replied with the rook 4-2 to cover, to defend this pawn and reinforce the attack, which looks terrifying at this point. It's actually an interesting way for the rook, which started from the 3-2 as a sunken bishop and moved all around the place, and now found its perfect spot at the 4th file. Finally made its way to where it belongs. And I'm referring here to the famous stricken bishop from Vincent, his favorite opening position. Maxim just attacks the bishop's head. Sorry for this. Wrong button again. Vincent simply pulls his bishop back. And this is the position we have so far. Let's see the live action. We can see both opponents are super concentrated on the game, even though Vincent is keeping the advantage. It's still not a one-sided game. There are opportunities for both sides, and it's shogi, so there are always tons of ways to make a mistake which would equalize the game. And yeah, everything might change in any second. That's why both players try to use all the time they have to think smart. Vincent used just use half of his time, so he has only 30 minutes left. And Maxim used more. He used 40 minutes, so we can see that it's more difficult for him to play this position. He takes more time to figure it out. And this is another point where Vincent is having a small advantage. But since in these terms we have 1 minute of additional time, it's not that crucial. Even though 1 minute is not that much, but it's longer than usual, I'd say. The engine suggests an interesting move for Santa is sacrifice of a pawn on 4-6. Yeah, so actually let me show you the idea behind it. So the engine's idea is either if Gote ignores somehow to push back here, or if Gote take, bishop can take, and this creates some pressure on the king on this diagonal. I think there are some ideas around that, but Santa choose different attack sequence of moves and push the bishop's head. Let me see whether Vincent replied. Yeah, Vincent gladly takes the 3-5 pawn. And here I'm expecting some kind of an attack from Santa, like pawn drop on 3-4, straightforward fall back from the bishop to 2-2. And actually this is kind of problematic here, because whatever Santa do, like let's say they push here with an idea of promoting the token, first of all, it's way too far away from the king, from the goddess king. So Santa have always an option to just ignore and do quicker moves. So probably they cannot just ignore this push. They'll have to do something like that. Yeah, so let me show you what's actually the problem. If Santa are not quick enough, this is a big threat of losing the knight for Santa, and Gote might use it later for this attack on the king's head. But surprisingly, by looking on this position, it seems like this is kind of a good chance for Santa to try to somehow shake up this position because of this move, as I showed before, and pushing this pawn here is probably not quick enough because it's not that big of threat while the silver is here. So take, and Santa is alright, and this token is actually very uncomfortable for Gote. Bishop will have to escape, and one more token here. The rook is under the attack. I think actually this would improve Santa's position, so probably, if I see it right, this is where Maxim might equalize the position a little bit. Let me see, but this is not what happened, and seems like Maxim made another small mistake, which brought the winning percentage for Vincent to 76. Let's see what happened after the last move we saw. So let me remind you that Vincent took the pawn 3-5. And surprisingly here, Maxim replied with this pawn drop. It's called a focus pawn, so I can see why he chose this move, but I'm just not sure whether it's the right timing. So if rook takes, this bishop is kind of cut off, and if bishop takes, this rook doesn't work here anymore. That's why it's called a focus pawn, like a standard, I would say, classic tactical idea in shogi. But seems like it wasn't really a problem because engine doesn't like this move for some reason. Cannot really calculate it that quickly. And already the game continued in the following manner. So as far as I can see, the bishop just took. Sorry, the bishop took the pawn, and no, I'm sorry, this is not what happened. Let me check the keyful, and we'll see the exact continuation. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not updating for me yet, and we'll have to wait a little bit. Yeah, so it seems like now it's clear. So unlike the drop on 3-4, this drop is not really threatening, and that's why Vincent has more than enough time to attack this knight. Yeah, that's why I think 4-4 drop was kind of slow and not favorable by the engine. And so Maxim tries to escape with this knight. He takes the pawn. It's possible now because the rook doesn't defend the square. And Vincent simply escapes this knight attack with his bishop, and also attacks the silver, which is now out of play, kind of. So the only defense seems to be this pawn drop, because like falling back with the silver so far away from the main fight is so the silver is gonna be out of play, and this promotion is coming. Yeah, I think the only protection here will be the pawn drop, and I'm pretty sure this is what Maxim is gonna do. But let me see the recent position. Yeah, it's not being updated. Yeah, so the pawn was pushed, was dropped, sorry. Yeah, let's actually see the live stream now, because can't see the exact moves in my Kifu viewer for some reason. Yeah, so you can see that Maxim is being already kind of exhausted. It's way too much pressure for him, and you can see that Vincent is just confidently trying to finish this game, bringing more and more pieces in his attack. It's already 80%, even 90% for Vincent. So if Vincent doesn't majorly mess it up, it's gonna be, and it should be from this point, an easy win for Gotha. Right, so as we've just seen, it's this drop was made to defend the silver, and yeah, and here Vincent just simply takes the knight. You might ask whether it's safe or not, because this silver is not defended by any piece, and this rook might take it any time. But here is the tactics, where bishop sacrifice, and Santa's king is forced to take back, or to take this knight with bishop, and the rook just dies. So this sacrifice here allows Gotha to get both silver general and the rook by only sacrificing the bishop, which gives Gotha a major advantage, and also kind of ruins the castle as well. So taking this silver for Santa is not really an option here. And surprisingly, this is exactly what happened. So seems like Maxim blundered this and went for this silver. I guess he just it's really tough to play such positions when you're far behind, and you just try to get some material to do something, but unfortunately this doesn't end up good. So bishop sacrifice from Vincent, and I think Maxim is just thinking now whether he wants to take it with the king, or to take it with the bishop. Both of these options, to be honest, are already pretty bad, and it's 97%. So Vincent is 97% favorable at this point, and seems like the game is gonna end soon. Unfortunately, maybe faster than we were expecting. But yeah, this is what often happens when you play against the champion. Yeah, I'm reminding again that we're gonna have most likely 2 more games during this week, on Friday and on Saturday. So subscribe to this channel, so you always get the notifications about the future games. So Maxim took the piece with his bishop, and yeah, let me check what exactly happened after that. Yeah, of course, Gotha take the rook. Santa tried to defend by these pawn drop tactics, bombarding pawn. Gotha can afford just taking it, just playing it slow. When you have such a significant advantage, you can play it slow. And Santa just continue desperately defending, and drop their silver in defense. Rook is likely gonna be forced now to retreat, but I think sacrifice is also valid. And after that, rook drop. So first of all, it creates an attack on the king. The silver can be taken afterwards, and it's not much Santa can do with two major pieces without any generals to attack the fully built Haimino castle. So I think it's gonna be quite okay. If the rook escapes, I can imagine the knight promotion 1-1 by Santa, gaining some material in hand. Yeah, so maybe actually sacrificing the rookie is even better, just to keep attacking Gotha when you have such big advantage. Let's see what Vincent chose. Actually, it's possible that Vincent is. It seems like he understands what he's doing at this point. He doesn't take much time to calculate. Yeah, so it seems like he figured that he can simply retreat here and maybe rotate his rook on this open file here. Of course, Santa used their only opportunity to promote the bishop and gain some material, as we talked about. And a very interesting attacking idea by Vincent. You can see his strong high level of game, and all of a sudden he finds this attack, which also cuts off the promoted bishop. Yeah, if Santa simply take with the knight, something like this comes, and of course bishop in defense is super good, but it's not that safe, because it's gonna be forced pushed out of this nice spot with moves like that, or maybe more likely like this one. And sorry, I have some problems with my mouse. Just a second. Okay, seems like it's working again. And after things like that, king is gonna be not safe at all. If Santa ignore it and just maybe take more pieces, it's not good either. Yeah, I think not taking is even worse. It's gonna lead to a quick checkmate. Yeah, very good move. Knight drop on 7-7. Like it a lot. Yeah, this is kind of a move I expect to see from the European champion, which Vincent is. Right, let me update the position. Yeah, and it seems like, oh, actually it's a lot of moves happened. Yeah, so it's yeah, it's already 99% favor Vincent's side. Right, so let me reload the moves. Yeah, can't see the current position, but it's most likely that Maxim took pawn promotion, and instead of bringing back the nice defensive promoted bishop, Maxim decides for some reason to take it with the king. And this might lead to the final blow from the Vincent, because now this drop is possible. King has to escape, and I don't know, a lot of bad things might happen here, like maybe rook drop here. Let me show you. If king just tries to, oh, actually, sorry, it's not possible. This bishop works in defense. Yeah, I don't know, maybe just even dropping the general here would be quite okay, and maybe things like that. And at this point it doesn't really matter, but I think that means that it's gonna find some really quick continuation, and very interested in what he finds. Yeah, so Vincent chooses actually to drop his knight here. I think it has its cons and pros and cons. So good thing about it that it also applies some pressure here, and it's very likely that the king is gonna escape in this direction. But from the other side, now this king has more space on the left side. Moreover, this rook is cut off from moving to the 7th and 8th file. Okay, sorry, just a second. Yeah, let's see what's happening in Ginkamuri right now. Some live action. Yeah, so Maxim is, yeah, actually you can see according to the engine after this knight drop on 6-5, escaping the king through 6-8 is not an option anymore, and it's much safer in this case to go on the left side where there is no any defense, but at least it's a bit more room for the king escape, which will give like 1 or 2 more moves for the black side. Yeah, so Maxim has only 5 minutes left, and he's kind of forced to make quick decisions here. And yeah, he just escapes to the left side just as the engine proposes. And surprisingly, after that, it seems like there is no very quick continuation for Gotha. And the best continuation is actually just dropping the pawn on 5-7. Let's see it on the board. So king escapes, and the engine's favorite move is this one. So these 2 moves are out of consideration because of the rook taken promotion. So seems like the only answer to this is moving gold right to the 4-8 square, which kind of weakens the king. The gold has to get even further away from the king's castle. And after that, let's see, let's actually try to see what can go to do here. Probably just dropping a rook here, trying to get some more material is fine. And attacking this gold doesn't seem like bottom pawn is gonna work here because of this sacrifice. It's not much Santa can do in terms of the counterattack. This king is in safety, and this rook is getting way too dangerous for the Santa's castle. The only defending move would be like dropping the bishop here, but this pawn is working really well. But let's see whether Vincent actually went for this attacking idea with this drop. Yeah, sorry, just taking a bit of time. Yeah, but Vincent chooses to drop the rook before that. I think the move order is not that important already in this position, so it should be just fine. So instead of dropping the pawn here, he drops his rook here, which attacks both this crucial gold and watches on the 2-6 general just to gain some material in case Gota needs it. Maxim replies with these good tactics. So Maxim actually shows a lot of tactical moves. So if rook takes, he has this tempo move by moving the gold on the bottom, and this rook is kind of forced to retreat, and then he can save the silver from the rook's attack. So I guess he has these ideas in mind. But since Santa's attack is exhausted, Vincent has all time of the world just to simply take this silver here and then just promoting this pawn and demolishing the opponent's defense formation. Pretty logical move, and he just wants to keep it safe and slowly finish the game. Let's see some live stream again. And you can actually see the graph right now. And almost for 40 moves it was an equal position, but then Maxim made some small mistakes which led to this position. Yeah, so Maxim uses his last 3 minutes. It was 5 minutes, so he uses his last minutes just to decide what else he can do here, because after that this game is going to turn into blitz for him. I guess he understands already that it's not much he can do, so he'll try just to create some counterattacks or maybe play some defensive moves to slow down the opponent. Yeah, so this is what he does. Maxim drops his knight to defend this square, and I think Vincent is just going to promote this pawn. Yeah, this is what he does. I think from now on it's not much things to consider, and we can mostly enjoy the live stream. Let me see what's going on in the comments. Share your opinion about the match. Yeah, I can see people talking in the chat, a lot of activity. Thanks a lot. Happy to have you here. Yeah, so Vincent feels confident. He used just a bit more than 50% of his time. Managed to create those advantages, to exploit them, and to bring this position to this demolition state. Let me actually, yeah, so Maxim drops his bishop. I think has no aim and just doesn't really know what to do at this point, and this is fine, it's okay. I think in some further move he is just going to give up. Anyway, it was a good fight from his side, especially facing such a strong opponent. Let me quickly show you what's coming next. Right, so this was the first game of the semifinals, and it's very likely that Vincent is gonna win this game. And later on this week, we're gonna see who's gonna compete against him. It's gonna be either Titov Denis or Korolev Alexander. And also, we gonna see this semi-final game between the winners of these two matches. So I believe this game is gonna happen on this Saturday. A few more moves were made. Let me see the exact order. Yeah, so Vincent just simply took the bishop. I think Maxim retook it. Yeah, and the Bogin, the Tokin just takes the silver. Maxim tries to bring this gold closer to the general. Vincent keeps pushing, and this gold makes this long way back home. Vincent just adds one more attacking piece and promotes on 4-9. I think Maxim will just move further his general to create this wall here. And after that, Vincent will start attacking the castle after making this space around the king as small as possible. So I think the further moves will be something like that. Something along this line. So yeah, so Maxim saves the gold, and Vincent simply drops the general. He's happy to trade it for the golden general because he has plenty of silver generals in his hand already. I think Maxim is already running out of time at this point, so it's gonna be even harder for him to defend. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Vincent dropped his general on a different spot. Yeah, so the move seems to be silver 6-8 instead. Let me just double check. Maxim tries to defend it here with the arrow, but with the lance, but I think Vincent can just simply take. And this is exactly what he does. Vincent takes without promotion. So now he's gonna have these attacking ideas with the lance because center are out of pawns. And Maxim is already playing with the additional time, so I'm expecting this game to end within the next 10 moves. Right. Yeah, I can already see the trades are happening. I'm updating the Kifu. It's not right there yet. That's why let me move to the live action. Well, surprisingly, we can see a rook drop from Maxim, so it's interesting to see what exactly happened. Yeah, so here Maxim tries to counterattack by dropping this rook here and attacking the attacking rook. But there is a disadvantage of this move that this bishop is cannot defend anymore while this rook is here. And I'm pretty sure Vincent is gonna use this in his favor. So Vincent takes here, Maxim takes here. And I think this might be already Tsumi. Vincent drops his bishop on 7-9. Maxim takes, and this rook sacrifice follows. King has to take, it's way too many generals, so it's gonna be checkmate for sure. And even though it might seem risky, Gote sacrificed all the attacking pieces, but I think it should be enough to checkmate the enemy king. Actually, Maxim hasn't taken the rook yet, but this is the only move he has in this position. So let's see live the last moves of this game. Yeah, Maxim is forced to take. An interesting idea might be to drop one of the generals on 9-7 to force one of the pieces to take and close that escaping route, but the engine suggests just dropping silver on 6-8, and this is exactly what Vincent does. At this point, Maxim has only 50 seconds per turn, but he simply has the only moves to do, so he tries to escape his king. Vincent drops his gold on 7-7. It's defended by 2 pieces, so he can do it. King tries to escape. Now it's forced to move on 8-6 square. And after that, the king is going to be way too exposed. So I guess after king goes to 8-6, Vincent can add one more general to the attack by moving his 6-3 gold to 7-4. And it seems like Maxim simply gave up at this point. Oh, so Maxim just moves his king on 9-8, and here comes an easy checkmate. So silver 8-9, and then the gold drop comes on 8-8. Right, so this was the game. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot. It's a big thanks to our players. It was an interesting match. And let me just do an announcement real quick. So just sorry for saying so many times, but that's important while our players are doing their after game analysis. So this was the first game of quarterfinals, and on this week we're gonna see at least 2 more games. One of them is gonna be between 2 Dan players, Titov Denis, one of the strongest players from Russia, and Kardov Alexander, who's a player from our Minsk Dodger. His rank is 2nd Dan, so it's gonna be a tough, interesting game. And the winner of this match is gonna play against Vincent, in semifinals, and this game we're gonna watch on Sunday. Follow us on social networks. I'm gonna make an announcement on Reddit, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because you will always get a notification about the upcoming stream. Leave a like, and thanks for being with us. Thanks a lot. Bye.